cultural side of Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome to Duran ASEAN. You're with Gowri today on our Anything Can Happen Friday, and we are here to bring you more topics from all over Southeast Asia. And today we will be focusing on Malaysia, talking about a play that will be happening on the 25th of July at the Black Box Theatre in Infinity Academy. And I have a couple of guests with me in the studio, and one of them is the director and producer herself, Joanna Bessey. Hello, Joanna.
Hello, Gowri.
So nice to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having us on the show.
And of course, we also have Murad, who is actor and writer in this production particularly. Hello.
Hi, Gowri. Thanks for having us here.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming in.
Anything can happen.
Oh, that was a
That's
show.
right.
Okay.
So I think the two of you probably need very little introduction, but still, for people out there who may not be familiar with you guys, maybe a little introduction first to yourselves. What do you do?
Well, my name is Joanna Bessey, and I started off as an actor. Most people know me from the TV sitcom Kopitiam. But over the years, I've always been doing theatre, TV, and then I started directing in theatre as well. And now I'm also the head of Infinity Academy, which is a performing arts academy.
Mm-hmm. And what about now?
Oh, wow. Not so different.
Let's start.
Except for I didn't really start in theatre as early as Joanna. I was more a television film person, directing, writing, some acting. Theatre was something that came a few years later, but lately I've been doing a lot of theatre. I don't know what that is.
I think you've got a more prolific theatre career than me now.
Well, because you're head of an academy, I don't see how you can have time to like hold everything. Yeah, but
I mean more than the TV though now, isn't it?
Much more. I mean, I don't do TV either. It's kind of
anymore.
Yeah, I think it's I'm already getting on my soapbox here, but I just feel that it's not as relevant an art form anymore here.
Yeah, I don't do TV. I mean, my whole career started mainly in television.
I watched you growing up.
Thank you.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah. When I was a kid. Yeah.
That's weird because you were in a couple of episodes. No, so that's odd.
As your little brother, yeah. Right. No, I'm older than Joanna, just in case people think that I'm being serious.
Right, because you sound quite young though.
He looks quite young, right, for his age. If you knew his real age, you'd be shocked.
I don't know his age,
I was there in Merdeka, and
Wow, okay. So maybe Joanna can tell us about your transition from TV to theatre and how you found your love for theatre.
Okay, well, actually growing up and going to school and everything, I was always involved in theatre quite heavily as a young actor, as a child actor. And so the transition into TV was when I started working. It was like my first professional job tended to be more TV based. But I had a whole learning background in history and theatre. So I actually used to do TV when I first started to sort of fund my theatre career, because at that time, you didn't really make very much money in theatre at all, or if you did, whatever you made, you could probably just about scrape by. But I remember, driving my old beat up car, my second-hand or third-hand BMW.
Hundreds of miles to a location.
And, yeah, and the petrol would be almost on empty, and I literally had like 20 cents in my pocket, those kind of things. At that time really happened. And I don't know if the theatre industry has improved a lot in terms of payment, but in some productions it has. And I think theatre in general as a industry has grown tremendously over the course of my career.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about Na'a?
Oh, my theatre experience. Well, now you know how old I am. In 1989,
I wasn't even born then.
Really? Oh my. Okay, so this is before you were born, when there were still saber-toothed tigers and mammoths running around KL. These four crazy people, Joe Kukatas, Cik Murad, Andrew Lessie, and Zahima Bakri, kind of invited me and a whole bunch of other people to be part of the creative group for Instant Cafe Theatre Company. I was writing and I thought it was fun. I was doing television, and I thought this is nice. These are crazy people. What they're doing is really funny. It was political review, And from there, I just started meeting people. I even had the luck to be directed by the late great Christian Jit once.
Oh, okay.
I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what was going on, but I had a friendship with Christian since then, and which I treasure a lot. I mean, I learned a lot from him. Learned a lot from Joe and the others, and even from this Joanna, because there were times when we would work on a theatre production, and I would be a very television, movie trained person, and Joanna had a lot more for theatre. So I learned just from working with people who were theatre trained. I've never done a single class or course or anything on theatre.
And I think probably the two of you will be the right person to answer this question. How is TV different from theatre in terms of acting, performing?
Well, I think there's a lot to be said for having a live audience. So when you have a group of people who come together as live and they're right in front of your face, and you're right in front of them and affecting them emotionally, sometimes we can be as close as we're sitting now, or in the larger venues there's slightly more distance, but it's live, like everything is right in front of you. And so I think that shared emotional experience is a lot more. I think it creates a more lasting impression. I mean, there are moments in theatre that you'll probably, if you enjoyed it and everything, you'll probably remember for the rest of your life, as opposed to a TV show that you would, you switch it off and you don't really think about it anymore. You may have a particular series that you're a big fan of, but when you stop watching it after a few months, it doesn't really have as much impact on your life. I think theatre is a very, there's
exclusive.
Sorry?
No, exclusive? No.
I'd say it's like more immediate, more inclusive, and more exciting. Especially if it's done well. And of course this play, Love Journey, A Nation of Two, will be fantastic. And it's in a really intimate space. The reason why I picked this venue is actually because I'm really excited by small experimental spaces where you have the opportunity to be very intimate with the actors, so that you don't feel the kind of distance you feel on TV or on film or in larger venues, larger commercial venues. And you mentioned the late Christian Jet, who was a big, I had the opportunity to work with him as well. And I was really, really moved by an essay that he wrote that was in a play recently. What's Joe's play recently? Another Country.
Oh, Another Country. Okay.
And there was a piece in Another Country written by Christian Jet, an essay about the myth of, the theatre spaces and commercial theatre, and how we must have, a specially built, purpose-built theatre with a proscenium and all these things. And his essay is all about how we don't really need that. And it kind of reinforced my decision to go with the smaller experimental space. I'd
like to deal with what you said, exclusive. There is an element of exclusiveness simply because theatre, it is more expensive than obviously going to see a movie, though movies are catching up, they're getting very expensive. But that's simply because theatre needs it in order to survive. It's not like anybody is actually making a lot of money in theatre, but theatre has cost. Everybody wants to make it a living, and yet we do not have a great following for theatre. It becomes less exclusive in somewhere like in a country where theatre is constantly being watched, because then you can keep the prices low, and you can also have things like they have in the UK where you can line up for tickets which are not claimed, or they have student discounts and things like that. We can't afford to actually do that much of that kind of stuff here, because there's still not a lot of audience. A production will open, spend quite a lot of money. I mean, even a small production of Love Journey is spending a lot of money, and we can only open for a certain amount of time, and even then we cannot be guaranteed of even half filled houses. So there is that element of exclusivity. People think that, you're charging 40, you're charging 50, 60. Some people charge more than 100, 200. Of course, the big musicals are exclusive simply because the cost of doing something like that is amazing. And I think if theatre becomes something to Malaysians as they notice what Joanna has been saying, that this is something more special than going to see a film. You're actually watching people perform live. It's better than 3D because they can actually fall off stage and actually touch you.
I'll be spitting on you. No, I'm just kidding.
So if people start going to theatre a lot more often, then it'll stop being exclusive. I mean, I know there's this image that it's a very exclusive thing, but it's not.
Yeah, and I think in small spaces like this, like this play is being staged in, with subject matter that's exciting like this, that should mean something to most Malaysians. You know, like how does your belief system change or compromise when it comes to relationships and love? I think we all know somebody who's probably, you know, not had to break up or not gotten married because of race or religion, or sometimes it's even the same religion, just different denominations.
Different states.
And how many young people nowadays are unmarried compared to our parents' generation? You know, and so I find it a really interesting subject, and I find that doing it in small spaces where people can be close together and kind of feel included in the discussion is an important thing to me.
Right. I think what I meant by exclusive was the fact that there's no replay button that you can watch it over and over again.
In a way,
and every performance will be different.
That's
you know,
right,
you
that's
go
right.
on one night, it will be one way, and then the next night with a different audience, and the actor's in a different mood, it will be different, somewhat
That's
different.
right.
Yeah, that's true. That's
But
true.
I'm glad you brought up the whole exclusive, because I also wanted to explain that. A lot of people think that theatre is hoity-toity. No, I mean, the reason why the tickets, there is a reason why
this
tickets are
particular
expensive.
production's not hoity-toity because we have floor seats that you can have for 20 ringgit, you know, and sit on the tika. Yeah, I mean,
the actors might step on your toes, but that's okay.
It's part of the act.
Yeah, and we, even in that idea of like being inclusive and enveloped by the story and the subject matter, I've even translated that straight into the set design, and so I want, when the audience walk into the space, they're gonna feel like they're having a really special experience, and they're going to feel like encompassed by the entire show. And we will have a discussion, you know, every night after the show's finished.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
there's audience participation as well.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in getting feedback and opinions and people saying, Joanna, nah, what is this about? You know,
Oh, I
don't
want my
understand
money
it at
back.
all. Yeah, I'll be like, sorry, no refunds.
No refunds.
You better put it up at the entrance.
But we're extremely lucky. I mean, this particular production would not be able to happen unless we had the grant that and then the support from JKKN, the Jabatan Kebudayaan dan Kesenian Negara.
Nailed it.
Yeah, because without which, to be honest, because the production cost of this show, you know, supposedly quote unquote small show,
Right.
the ticket price actually, even if we had completely full houses, would not actually justify the production.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're in a really unique and special and privileged position to be able to even stage this. So I'm very, very excited about that.
Matter of fact, let me toot JKKN's horn, because simply I want them to do this again. They did this 2 years ago, right? This grant for new works.
Yeah, this is from
Okay.
And almost there's not in the past few months, there's not a day that passes that there isn't a play that is on in KL that's not a JKN
Wow.
production that came out of
That's
the
great.
workshops and everything.
Yeah.
And some may be good, some may be bad, but a lot of playwrights are getting a chance to put it. In fact, there's another one out right now, which is The Smell of Water, Taste of Water.
Taste of Water.
Taste of Water.
Kale Pack, right?
Kale Pack,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's right.
So
yeah,
it's continuously.
Actually, Safia Hanifah is also in that particular show. as well
We
as
joke
this
that
one.
she's in every JKKN production, which she almost is.
So, can you tell by the string of productions that are up when the deadline is to stage
Yeah.
a production by?
Okay.
Because there is a deadline in order
Right,
to
right.
get
Yeah.
the grant. But they have created the opportunity for many plays, and that is in KL alone. There were many people. I was part of the thing. I have a play too, separate from this one, and there were many participants from Sabah and Sarawak. And I wonder about their productions. We don't hear it here in KL, but I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff happening there because of this JKKN grant. And I'm not here schmoozing. I'm just saying that I hope they do it again. I mean, we learned a lot from doing this grant the first time. There were some problems, but it always is a problem when you're doing something this big for the first time. And I hope they do it again.
I mean, that's amazing, because most of the time when it comes to productions, it's always the funding that's an issue. So
Yes.
if they are doing this, especially for the up-and-coming new artists, maybe people like me who just graduated, that will be an awesome opportunity for you to actually get the idea out of your head and actually play on stage. for
Absolutely,
people.
yeah, absolutely. And I think the feedback in general for the whole series of JKK and supported shows has been very good, actually. And really, I used to complain a lot, like we don't have enough locally written or inspired.
Yes, they're all
it's
original
usually-
Malaysian plays.
Yeah,
It's
they're
so
all
exciting.
original Malaysian plays,
Okay.
and all done within. Usually, it takes years, and they'll kind of, a playwright will come out with one once in a while.
Because they can't afford it. They don't get any money.
Yeah.
So there was playwrights were being paid to do this. So for the first time, they felt like proper writers, proper playwrights.
Right.
Which is great.
So yeah, we are gonna take a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss more about Love Journey, A Nation of Two.
Anything can happen Friday. The art and cultural side of Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to Durian ASEAN. You're still with Gowri here on our Anything Can Happen Friday, and I have Joanna, Bessey in the house together with Murad. Hello. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Woot woot.
You guys still okay?
Yeah.
We're great. We're great.
All right. So for this part, I think we'll talk more about the play itself, Love Journey, A Nation of Two. And I understand you guys worked together as well. You wrote the piece together. So maybe you can tell us a bit on how the whole idea came about.
Man, that's a long story. Isn't it? I mean, I'll start with a preamble, and you can continue with more current stuff.
Okay.
Love Journey, Nation of Two started out completely different. It was actually during our younger...
Actually, it wasn't called Love Journey. It was just
Nation of Two.
We had a preliminary idea called Nation of Two.
And it was, we were younger and more, what was it, optimistic back then. Wanted to,
How long ago was this?
Oh, wow.
This was an
early
idea that I
2000s.
came up with Jewel. Remember my friend
Your
Jewel
friend,
in LA?
Okay.
And then I brought it to Na'a, and Na'a started writing a film script. Actually.
film script, television. It was either a sitcom or a television, because that back then, I think everybody felt as though there was going to be a major change in the film, TV industries and everything. And there was Joanna was still in a very successful sitcom. I was in a very successful sitcom. I had been directing a lot of stuff. So we were thinking like, okay, the recession is over, and there's going to be a lot of call for this kind of stuff internationally too. And it just didn't fly. So, but the idea is a really good idea, and it's timeless. Even though it was more, I would say, global and political. It was it was a love story about people from
Post
two different
9/11.
Post 9/11, a Malaysian and an American. You can imagine that the tension there would be more interesting. I'm not saying more interesting, more
drama.
more political. Now it's kind of moved back into becoming more focused on Malaysian ideals and attitudes. And Joanna will continue the rest of the story.
So when I got the grant to write this play, I was very inspired by the same themes that we had originally kind of come up with prior. So although this is a completely different play and a new work really, and like I said, the focus changed and the characters changed and all that kind of thing. But the themes are very, very similar. And I think this is a subject that sort of, that East versus West, or those polar opposites in culture or in family or in belief systems or in
love knows no borders.
Yeah, and
you want to be corny about it.
How do we? What are our love rituals and things like that? And the contrast, those contrasts, are something that really fascinate me. And sometimes they are in conflict, sometimes they're not. I think we try to explore all the different ways that people kind of choose to believe or not believe in their freedom of thought or not when it comes to this subject. Because a lot of young people nowadays, I think they're so, especially Malaysians, I think we're like so respectful of our elders and our parents. We want to please everybody. We want to please everyone in the family, that we may not end up ultimately pleasing ourselves and marrying the person that we're really suited for.
Yep.
I think this kind of happens a lot. I mean, how many of your friends are married, Gowri?
Not many.
Yeah, I mean, just compared to our parents' generation, my mum, sometimes she'll be like, "How come you're not getting married?"
People are married by 25, right?
Like, they were all, our parents' generation, they were married in their 20s. That's normal,
19, 20,
But now I'd say it's like 50-50 or 60-40 unmarried. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the statistics.
Also, economically, people can't afford to get married now. I think it'll reach a point where people literally won't get married until they are in their late 30s, because it's like
you mean the wedding ceremony or what?
It's a financial thing, yeah. I mean, like young people
but actually,
are not making. I'm sure she will agree with.
But isn't it cheaper to buy a house together with someone else and share living costs? And so I don't know about the economic excuse. I kind of feel like it might be just like feeling a lot of pressure about social pressure, family pressure,
definitely,
cultural pressures. That, I mean, I know so many people who would be considered a mixed marriage, that never happens.
Yes. Well, I mean, when you're talking about cultural pressure, I mean, this. Okay, I'll tell you a bit about the play, because people are wondering, what is it about? Okay, well, pretty much you still have that same concept of an American marrying a Malaysian, but the complication comes from the fact that the Malaysian is a Malay girl who's a Muslim, and the American is, well, I wouldn't say a person with no religion, but somebody, is a Californian, is very open-minded about all kinds of faith and, that kind of stuff. And
just a free thinker.
Pretty much, but a spiritual free thinker, not one of those, Richard Dawkins type, like no evidence, no. I mean, he's willing to, he surfs and he's talking about all kinds of theories and stuff like that. But that kind of person is actually totally misunderstood here in the context of an older generation Malaysian. So can you imagine this person who wants to convert? I mean, he's like, why not? Yeah, I can do that, but does not. But sees it as something that he needs to prepare himself for, something he needs to understand. Whereas it's you can imagine the clash of cultures already happening there. So within the girl's family, there are different points of view too. So people are being pulled in many different directions. And I suppose one of the themes that is most important to me personally, I mean, I don't know about Joanna, but for me personally, is there's even a line in there. One character has a line about perception. And here in Malaysia, sometimes perception can be deceptive, and it can also be, to me, almost hypocritical. Like, for example, you can put a perception of yourself as being pious or this and that and the other, and it's just a surface thing, and people will accept you for that. In fact, they're almost asking this American guy to just do this, and the perception is already there that you're a good Muslim, and then behind closed doors do whatever you like. There's almost an implication of that, and I think too many of us live that way. We don't really say, we don't really try to put what we are inside out there, and people do not want to share that. People do not want to try to understand other points of view. It's like, no, there has to be this perception that you are A, B, C, all the way up to Z, and that's all. Just keep it out in the surface, and that's one of the themes which I find very important.
Yeah, like there's no room for grey areas, really. And I think so. The play kind of goes on this journey. Actually, the play is non-linear in the storytelling. Like the timeline is
back and forth.
And we don't really pay attention to the time factor whatsoever. So it kind of goes back, forth. There's 3 different time zones, but we don't we're following an emotional unfolding of the story. So we kind of disregard time maps completely. So then I'm very interested in the discussion after the play. Like, people are like, what? I was confused. What?
In the beginning,
or does it work?
In the beginning, the main character is sleepwalking. She has a tendency to sleepwalk when she's stressed. So you may even wonder while watching it, is she still sleepwalking and this is just all her memories? If you want that to be what the story is about, it could be that. It could be her own thoughts flipping back and forth. It could be a journey that me and Joanna decided to take you in that direction for a particular reason. But she's right. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who's going to enjoy the individual scenes, but go, I don't get it. Why is it moving back and forth? But we want to be experimental a little bit. Just for.
I think it's a great theme, because you're mentioning about how there's you have to be A, B, C, and then you're this. I mean, that happens
then you accept
a lot in Malaysia.
Yeah, you accept it, even though you may have well, you may have a different A, B, and C inside your own beliefs. Nobody wants to hear that, because that would rock the boat. You know, the free discourse and we don't celebrate diversity here. Not much. I mean,
well, we do, but on a very superficial level. You know, like, we don't mind if people want to have different types of clothing to represent their different cultures and things. So that kind of diversity we really like.
He doesn't look like he's agreeing.
No,
with
I'm not. Well, yeah, I'm agreeing.
But you know, so I think on a superficial level, a very we do celebrate it, and you know, but like on a, like you're saying, on a in-depth level, and can we really represent ourselves as or can we really you know, be as opinionated as we feel inside, not necessarily.
Go ahead and dress the way you culturally dress, but put a cross up on your church and suddenly it goes wrong. Whereas that is also part of diversity. It's also part of sharing, you know, each other's culture. I mean, I mean, you're okay with politics and stuff. I mean, that's what you do, right? I mean, the way I see it, I mean, it's almost as though there is this insecurity now that that says that one culture can take seeing the other culture, you know, literally in your face. I mean, for example, I don't want to step on any toes, but when you're talking about religion, for example, like a masjid is allowed to literally announce itself to a whole neighborhood, and yet you don't see, you know, Hindus and Buddhists and Christians flocking to join Islam, and yet there is this fear that one cross will make Muslims suddenly join Christianity. I mean, that is almost insulting to Muslims, don't you think? So is this very skewed way of thinking.
Like we're so insecure about, you know, exactly, you're right. We're so insecure that, you know, if you even mention a different, or even if you're seen as propagating a different religion, that's immediately going to change everyone from being who they've been for the last, you know, 1,000 years or something.
And it's quite a common thing as well.
Or 500 years.
I think if I may also talk about identity crisis, growing up in a multiracial country, and you have friends from different races, and you don't really think much about it, but then one day you just realize that, hey, why am I doing things differently? And some people may not be happy about that, like, oh no, you're Indian, you're supposed to behave this way, or you're Malay, you're supposed to behave that way. So I think it is, I think earlier you mentioned that it's a timeless theme that everyone can relate to.
I hope so. And it's something that I think both of us find extremely fascinating. I'm really interested in anything that has to do with non-tangible, like subjective ideologies, and the basic human right of freedom of thought. You know, which certain segments of Malaysia don't fully have. So, I mean, like, if you are born a certain race or religion, you're not necessarily allowed to really change that. You know what I mean? So it's very, I think it's really, really fascinating, because I mean, there are a lot of, you know, underground churches and things. I mean, that people will find a way to diversify and practice what they do believe. You know, whether they're allowed to have it in the open or not. And I find that really, really interesting as human beings. Like, we do have that as a human right for a reason, and I think at some point in time, I think as a country, as a Malaysian myself, I think we're going to have to allow ourselves to mature and accept that. Today I feel like being a Buddhist, tomorrow I feel like being a Muslim, the day after I want to be I think we have to realize that for some people, not obviously all, but that freedom must exist for them, you know, because when it comes to this kind of thing, you can't really control it. It's so personal, it's so individual. It's not something, you can dress a certain way, but that doesn't even mean anything. So you can dress a certain way and feel and think the opposite of how you're representing yourself. You know, so those are the kinds of themes that the play will explore.
There's a line that Dato' Rahim has, right? He plays the uncle of the girl who's marrying the American, and there's this whole furore about the American, you know, converting, and he says, yes, if I can't remember the exact line, but something like, yes, we expect him to change, but maybe we have to change a little bit too.
Okay.
Which is true. You can't expect everybody to.
Yeah,
because it's not to your beat.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
And because it's also about like culture and rituals and things. It's not. I mean, the play is actually not about religion, but it's about like ideas of faith and how do we define faith.
Yes.
And so obviously, how do we practice? The whole play is set within the backdrop of a Malay wedding, a Malay traditional wedding.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's all
In
these,
the kampong,
and I really love
idyllic.
celebrating. Yeah, and like I grew up going to like my family is massive, so I grew up going to hundreds of kunduris and basandings and things as a kid, and I kind of think. I guess I'm a little bit nostalgic about certain things, and I really wanted to celebrate those rituals in the play as well. I think they're quite symbolic as well.
And going back to the topic of interracial or interfaith marriage, that it is, I think it's quite common in Malaysia as well. And earlier you were asking me if any of my friends were married, and I said no. But I think a lot of them are actually in a lot of relationships with someone of a different faith, different religion, and that's something that you just cannot run away from.
No,
because
not
this
anymore.
country, I mean, at the end of the day, it's more than the skin color, it's more than your faith. When you meet someone, you just understand that person, you get along with the person, and it's a matter of the heart.
Gone are the days when Malaysians used to live in kelompoks, little like if this area was the Malay area, this is the Indian area, this is the. Not anymore. People live together now. People interact.
But especially in the cities, I suppose, in Klang Valley. I don't know about.
But getting more and more because people have to go to the towns to work and all that. So we're getting exposed to each other. So celebrate that rather than still hold the old ways. I mean, like I have my own personal philosophy. If you put 50 Muslims, 50 Christians, and 50 Buddhists in a room, how many religions do you have? Not 3. You have 150. Because I believe that everybody, whether they know it or not, has a different take on religion. There are actually 7 billion religions on this planet. I mean, but people still need to try to make groupings and force loyalties and that kind of stuff. Whereas it's not really, in the end of the day, is not really important unless one person's religion tells them that they have to eat babies for for breakfast or sacrifice goats. Sacrifice goats is okay. I mean, like sacrifice babies and
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about religion is that no major religion preaches anything like that. In fact, they all kind of pretty much preach the same thing. Right. Love and respect for each other, and how to be a decent human being, or what we would consider to be decent human beings. So I think it's just along the way somehow the practice gets right. It means a lot to people. It fires up emotions. Right.
That quote I sent you, I can't remember who it's by, but to paraphrase it, it says that in the end, it's not really your loyalty to your faith. It's more tribal loyalty that makes you do these kind of things, which are like separate in people. It's tribal. It's a tribal thing.
I think that. A lot of, but having said that, a lot of organized religion or that tribal loyalty, whatever, sometimes it results in really, really good things. So I think it's just that you have to be, like if people come together and they go and help a community who are, less fortunate than theirs, for example. And we, as Malaysians, we're super charitable. I mean, like, we really do. We're really, really up there compared to other countries, I feel. When it comes to charity, all of us are fantastic that way.
We'll pitch in. Generally, we don't have much.
Even if you don't have much yourself and you only have a few ringgit, everyone, that sense of giving is there. So I think there's a lot to be said for,
but it takes
belief systems.
But it takes a lot to push a Malaysian into caring. I think we because we have become less community oriented, but we will move towards doing something when we are moved inside. But I think in general, in an everyday sense, we are getting further and further and further away from being very community-minded.
I blame social media.
I blame radio. No.
No, and that's another thing that I love about theatre is that like you're with real people sitting next to you and you're together, you know, with other human beings and having a shared experience, a shared emotional experience. I think there's nothing that can beat that in social media. There's nothing that can beat that on TV or you know what I mean, like that tangible, like you know, there's nothing better than being really with your friends as opposed to, you know, on a WhatsApp chat.
That's also we want. That's also why we want to have things like the Q&A, because that space should be a safe space where a bunch of people sit together and talk about whatever they want to talk about. That's what the arts should be. So if people are going to go out and complain, we can say, okay, don't complain. Stay and tell us what your complaint is. Make it a discussion. If you disagree and you want to yell and use 4-letter words, go right ahead, because that's what it's for. Don't go and complain to an authority and have a shutdown, because we are now in this together and you are part of this discussion.
But having said that, there's nothing in this play that would be shut downable.
But you never know what people will get offended by these days, you know.
But I mean, you know, like, our discussion with you, Gowri, sounds so serious, but this is actually a comedy.
Oh my gosh, we completely forgotten that it is a comedy.
Is it?
Completely, it is.
Yeah, like I describe it to people like, it's a comedy of faith defining love. Doesn't that sound hilarious? Like, the thing is, it's all done with a really good sense of humor, and it is actually a comedy, and it's really about like being able to hold a mirror up to ourselves and laugh at ourselves once in a while. You know? Yeah.
As I said earlier, it started out as a sitcom.
Starting to sound so serious in this whole interview.
So the sitcom element is still there. I mean, basically, I find nothing more boring than talking about something in a somber way, unless you're talking about the, you know, about the persecution of the Jews or something like that. I mean, this is an issue, a topic, but we also see the humor in frailties of people and people's misconceptions and stuff like that. So people who have tuned out because they think this is very serious, I hope you come back on the air and listen to us, because actually it's a comedy.
So maybe we should take another short break, and when we come back we will talk more about our love journey.
Anything can happen Friday. The art and cultural side of Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to Duran ASEAN. You're with Gowri, and this is Anything Can Happen Friday, and I'm still with Joanna, Bessey.
Hello!
And Murad right here.
Hello!
And we are going to talk more about A Love Journey, A Nation of Two, a comedy of faith defining love. So we talked about a lot of issues that are important and should be addressed, and I think one of the things is about the diversity in this country, that we are a melting pot, and we're still somehow trying to get used to the whole feeling of that. I want to ask you just a little bit about the perception of society. Do you also include that in the play when it comes to the interfaith, interracial marriage?
I think, I mean, as a theme, the play kind of touches on all of that. I don't know how in depth it touches on all that, because it is a comedy. It's really funny.
You will laugh.
Yeah, I think people will have fun. I think it will be something that everyone who comes to see will be able to relate to it.
Also, because a lot of the characters are very comfortable with each other. I mean, there are scenes where people are not, and there's comedy even when you have a character like the character I'm playing, who's very black and white. It's not very grey about things, you know. But you know, like even like for example, with two of the main characters, they would actually talk about things very openly. Like one character says to the other, you know, it's time like these that I'm glad I'm not a Malay. You know, and it's not there to push buttons. It's there to say, hey, this is what people actually talk this way when they are open with each other, and there's no insult meant by it. You are actually discussing an issue which actually is excuse me, which is important to both of you.
Yeah, it's really interesting for me because I'm the product of a mixed marriage. So I grew up with no, a lot of people think I'm just, well, especially in Malaysia, a lot of people think I'm just white or something. And I'm not Malaysian at all. I still get asked that until today.
Right.
And so it's really, really interesting because I've never had a complete sense of belonging anywhere. You know what I mean? Like both in the UK, I'm super Asian, and here I'm super, white looking or something. Even though I don't look white. I mean, I'm actually, if you compare me to someone who's blonde or blue-eyed or something, you know what I mean? Like, so it's all relative. And I think that growing up that way also kind of made me really appreciate different points of view. It made me really appreciate diversity and what makes human beings tick. It probably inspired me to become an actor because I became obsessed with people and the human condition. And I think this play, the point of my story is that this play really kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it celebrates those kinds of
the diversity,
and what people really say, because I'm actually half Malay, and a lot of non-Malay people will say things to me that they wouldn't say to another Malay person ever, even if it was their best friend who's Malay. But there's certain sort of prejudices or racist things that they feel safe saying to me because they don't realize I am half Malay.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And same goes the other side too. So I'm kind of privy to a lot of sort of like very open types of conversation.
Which should actually be
for everybody.
It should happen because that only then will you know there's actually true respect. I mean, you can't talk about these kind of things with each other between races or political ideologies or religions unless there's proper respect.
Right.
Only with proper respect can you actually sit down and discuss two different religions. Or two different political ideologies,
or two different rituals on how to get married, or something.
Or what your favorite music is. I like punk, I like jazz, whatever. And if you don't respect each other, you'll just be yelling at each other, that kind of thing.
And I always find it just really. I mean, I find a lot of humor in those situations. Because people tell me things that how they really feel, which might come across as a bit racist at the time, but human beings, I think, are really interesting creatures because once they've sort of said it, it doesn't necessarily mean that to them anymore. It's kind of like something they've got to get off their chest, and then it's like, actually, I don't really feel that way. But until they've kind of got it off their chest to somebody who's really understood them fully, they might hold that grudge, you know what I mean? So it kind of like there is that element of catharsis in open, frank conversation, and theatre is supposed to serve that purpose. For me, anyways, I really strongly believe that for social, for society and everything.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if we go back to Theatre of Cruelty, that's what it was all about, where you have to deal with the thing that you usually just brush off or you suppress or you just keep it in, but eventually you see it happening on stage and you're like, actually that's exactly how I feel, but I just don't know how to say it, I don't know how to bring it out. So I think that's one of the things that this play also offers to the audience. And
aside from being very, very funny
and like hilarious, like you have to see it.
Very, very funny.
And it's going to be a different kind of theatre experience. Right. And where else do you see people like Dr. Rahim Rizali and Fatima Abu Bakr on stage? I mean, I just feel so honoured and so lucky that I have this amazing cast.
The return of Sharifah Sofia and Chako Vadaketh to the theatre for long absence.
Yeah.
Safia Hanifa and Tim Howe are the leads, and Tim is actually American. We actually imported an American. Well, actually, he works for SKL. So they are the leads, and they are amazing. And there's me, and I'm amazing. There's Bella Rahim and Alfred Lowe and Anita Hamid and Kaha Akila, and they're all very, very, very experienced theatre actors. If you only watch television, you might not know them, but they are.
And and if you've never been to the theatre before, this is probably a good place to start because of this cast. I mean, the main focus of this whole production for me as the director and producer is this amazingly talented cast, of which Na'a is also a part.
Yes.
Na'a's been typecast as the grumpy old uncle, who's,
So as long as I get work.
And the other thing is about this play is that, like, there's no real traditional antagonist in this play.
No.
There's no, like, outrightly evil
Father,
there's no
the parang.
there's none of that. There's no like evil wizard
That's true.
character.
I did not want to for my part, and I'm sure Joanna felt the same way as we were writing this. I did not want to create any stereotypes.
Okay.
There are some of us who play characters who are more unyielding, like myself and Chaco. But even our characters are only doing what we believe is right.
All right.
And there is a certain amount of yielding, even in Chaco's character. I mean, that's the thing. Human beings are, like Joanna said, fascinating creatures, and we've got to, frankly, even celebrate the ones that we don't like, or that we might not like so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to ask Joanna.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Joe B Productions.
Joe B Productions.
Yay.
It's basically
It's a multinational company with 3 billion in assets.
Wow.
No, it's not.
Wow.
If it was,
yes,
well,
anybody
that's
would like to invest? No. It's basically a company that I started 15 years ago now.
Okay.
To support the work that I did in my personal career. So whenever it comes to a production that is my own, this is my company that I use, and been doing things more like things that I would be doing and personally, and things like sketch comedy kind of projects, smaller plays,
also to launder the money she makes from arms smoggling.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Don't tell people that.
That's out. It's not a secret anymore.
So it's like basically a lot of mainly theatre really. Sometimes I do, I've done things where I've done like a commercial type shoots for, campaigns, for social media, things like that. But it's mainly anything related to the work that I do. So it's quite there's no real particular company, but you will see sort of a returning factor about the people who are involved in all the projects. For example, Na'a is a staple. All right. Fortunately for me, people like Kaha Akila as well. He's worked with me on many of my projects many times. And who else is in there? Bella
works for you a lot.
Yeah. So
Sophia even teaches for you.
Yeah.
Infinity.
Yeah. I mean, that's like another separate diversification.
Okay. So so back to the play. It will be showing on the 25th of July until the 2nd of August. And where can they get more information about the play?
Well, you can buy tickets and get more information at eventbrite.com. That's EVNTBRITE, eventbrite.com. And you can find us under the art section in that. And you can also email us on lovejourneytix@gmail.com. And
Tix as in TIX.
TIX.
Yeah, Love Journey.
Lovejourney TIX@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tickets are priced at 40 ringgit and 20 ringgit as well.
Okay, so right.
20 ringgit, unfortunately, it's floor mat seating. But there's a nice kind of feeling to that too, because you feel as though you're watching like wayang kulit or something, something very traditional.
There are like a lot of a lot of Malaysian traditional art forms influenced in the play. Okay. So that would be quite nice. So
sounds very exciting.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like it.
For it.
Yeah. Tickets are only the regular lovely seats are only 40 ringgit. It's so. I think it's rare that you'd get an experience like this with this particular cast, and I can't thank my lucky stars how amazing it is to get this group of artists together and under this grant.
With their schedules and during fasting month, it's quite a juggling act for
the
Joanna
rehearsal schedule. It's been quite difficult.
But it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Yeah.
And the price of the ticket includes the program book. Oh my goodness! Where can you get such an experience?
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
mari, lelong.
Right. Thank you so much, Joanna.
Thank you, Gowri.
For being here today talking about Love Journey, a Nation of Two. I'll definitely be there. I'll see you guys.
I hope so.
Fantastic.
Do come and bring your friends.
I will.
Lots of friends.
The married ones and the unmarried ones.
Do we sound desperate yet?
Desperate much? Okay.